This is Michael Woodward, and this is Season 2, Episode 50 of the Jumblethink Podcast.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Jumblethink Podcast, a podcast focused on telling the stories of dreamers, makers, innovators, and influencers. Along the way, we'll give you some tips and ideas of how you can chase your own big ideas and dreams and change the world around you. Our guest today is Michael Levitt. More about Michael in a moment. Our guest on Thursday's episode is Leon Logothetis. Leon was a successful stockbroker in London, but was looking for something more, so he gave it up. And now he is the star of The Kindness Diaries. In The Kindness Diaries, he travels the world on the kindness of strangers. When he meets someone extraordinary, he gives back in big ways. It's a super fun episode, and you can check out his show, The Kindness Diaries, on Netflix. So make sure to check out Thursday's episode with Leon Logothetis. Now let's dive into today's episode. Hey there, welcome to the Jumblethink Podcast. My name is Michael Woodward. I am your host, and we have an incredible episode in store for you today. Before we dive into today's episode, I want to encourage you, wherever you like to listen to podcasts, go on over and click that subscribe button. If you like listening to your podcasts on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, it's now even easier. So all you have to do is go to jumblethink.com/iTunes or jumblethink.com/Spotify. Again, that's jumblethink.com/iTunes or jumblethink.com/Spotify. And it will take you right to the app, and you can find the subscribe button and click the subscribe button. Beyond Apple Podcasts and Spotify, you can find us on SoundCloud, iHeart, Stitcher, Google Play, and all of your other favorite places to listen to podcasts. Now let's jump into today's episode with Michael Levitt and learn a little bit more about Michael. Michael, thanks so much for being on the podcast.
Great to be with you today, Michael.
We are talking about your company and what you do. Tell us your business name and your role at the business and what your business does.
Sure. Business name is Breakfast Leadership, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer, founder, cook, bottle washer, all of those things. And I have other people helping me. I'm not the only person involved with it, but there are most days where it feels that way, which is going to be the case for a lot of us entrepreneurs when we're first starting off. And my organization's 2 years in. And what we do is we work with leaders and managers and actually people of all walks of life, really figure out how they can go about their life without burning out. I'm seeing, and pretty much in every sector, there are people that are burning out at a very alarming rate, and they're not appreciating their jobs anymore. Life is not what they thought it would be. They're having health issues, issues at home, you name it. And you see it day in, day out, or where this is just increasing. And it's really concerning to me because it happened to me 9 years ago. And the fallout from that experience was pretty catastrophic. So I launched this organization because I wanted to make a difference and really help people avoid their own, worst case scenarios, basically, that happened to me.
Wow, crazy. We're going to dive more into burnout and health and all of that kind of stuff in segment 2. I wanted to talk a little bit more about your foundation and your starting place. You mentioned that you started the business about 2 years ago. When did this whole idea and dream start for you?
For me, it started about a year prior to that, so about 3 years ago.
Okay.
I've been in the healthcare sector. I'm an executive director for a multi-site medical clinic, and I've done this, now it's been 11 years. And in my career, in my life, I've actually reinvented myself a few times. I was originally a public accountant, so did the auditing and tax season and all of that fun stuff. And I did that for a decade and then realized this is not what I want to do for the rest of my life. So thankfully, I was able to jump on the whole IT bandwagon when the dot-com era in the 90s was taking off, and it was absolute zaniness when it came to working in that sector, because the salaries people were making were absolutely incredible. And I had recruiters that would place me in an organization and call me back literally 3 months later, checking to see how happy I was because they had another position that they wanted to place me at. I'm like, I just figured out how to work the coffee machine. Why do you want me to leave? Well, we're doing it and it's paying you this and this. And all of a sudden you're going, wait a minute, that's a pretty significant bump up. So a lot of people were going through that. And then reality hit. And then that came and went. And then I decided I need something a little bit more stable than this up and down of the IT world. So was able to find a position that was kind of a hybrid. And then doing that for about a decade, stumbled across a healthcare opportunity in just outside of Windsor, Ontario. And the funny thing is I had zero healthcare experience, but I had startup experience in my career. So that's why they hired me. So that's how I ventured into the healthcare world. And I've been in it for almost 11 years now. And the reason why I wanted to launch Breakfast Leadership is after the significant losses and the burnout and everything that happened to me in 2009 and 2010, I'd reinvented myself. So life is great and I have everything that I could ever want. And I started seeing a lot of my colleagues in the sector going down the same path that I did. And it scared me. And I thought, well, I need to talk with them and say, you need to make a different choice on this.
Yeah.
But I also felt that talk wasn't going to be enough. I needed to do something more. I needed to have products and services and teaching and coaching to go inside to really reinforce how to go about it. Because I can easily tell somebody, you need to have boundaries in your life. You need to do these things to avoid becoming burnout. Okay, that's great. That's advice. You can get that anywhere. But you also need to have the tools to be able to make those changes. And that's where a lot of people really struggle, is changing habits. And because that's what it is. It's a habit, how you work, how you go about your life, how you spend your time at home. It's habits, and they've developed over time. So changing them is not going to be an overnight exercise. It's going to be something you're going to have to take on over a period of time.
You're doing this stuff to help people really change their life. Can you tell us maybe one story or place you've seen where this has brought you fulfillment or significance or purpose in what you do, and ultimately led you to a place where you just understand why what you do matters?
When you go through burnout, which is not a fun experience, and everything is falling apart around you, it's not a fun scene. And when you encounter someone that's going through that or approaching it, and you can catch them beforehand, and I'll give one example. It was a colleague of mine that was really trying to do way too much in her role. And she was running into problems. She was relatively new into the role as well, a similar role to what I've done. So I was familiar, with the nuances of the job.
Right.
And she was going down this path that I knew was not going to be sustainable. She was constantly checking her email. She was constantly worried about what her bosses were thinking. She wasn't the first choice for the role. There was somebody else that wanted it, that was more well-known, but didn't get the role. So there was a little animosity, whether real or not. She sensed it, and she was focusing on that. And so we really worked together on, okay, let's start scaling things back as far as what you're doing in your day. Let's focus on 2 or 3 things, not 20. Yes, there may be 20 things on your to-do list. You're not going to get 20 things done today. It's not going to happen. So pick 2 or 3 that you think you could probably finish either today or this week. Let's get those off the list and start getting some momentum and really focus on that deep work. And she started doing that, and she started having better conversations with her board, better conversations with her team. And just by making a couple tweaks, it really saved her role at that organization. She also received a raise and was recognized as, doing great work within the organization, where if she didn't make a couple tweaks, who knows if she would have survived at that organization. She may have either burned out or left, or they may have, using a Jack Welch term, dehired her. It would have been, catastrophic for her. So And it wasn't this life transformational, okay, you're going to do these 18 steps and you're going to be able to do this. No, it's fairly simple to make the changes you need to make, but it's really hard to make the changes because, again, it's habit based, and there's past history, experiences that you're bringing to the equation, and we have to figure out what those are and put them in their proper place and get people to be open to looking at things in a different light.
So you started this, you're a couple years in now. What's one challenge you are currently working to overcome?
Time. It's,
The challenge many of us experience.
I was going to say, yeah, we're all looking for hour 25. It doesn't exist. But
Yeah.
I think that was one, but I think the other one too, especially when you're in a startup, there's a lot of things you can do. There's a lot of endeavors you can take on. You can have a blog, you can have a podcast, you can be on social media, and those are all important in how things are today. And it's awesome. The ability to have a conversation with you right now over the internet is huge, and to be able to interact with people and work with people virtually is a great opportunity. So you have to be on those platforms to be seen. And so for me, I mean, I want to say the biggest challenge, but I think one of the biggest lessons that I've learned is, one, be consistent with what you're doing. So pick a method that you're going to be communicating, whether it's blogs, podcasts, social media, and be consistent, be on there, get recognized, put your name out there, be seen, because people do business with who they know, like, and trust. So if they see you talking in your space, whatever type of organization or whatever your business is based on, when you are actually out there and people start recognizing you, then opportunities start coming up and you start meeting clients. You start, for me, I like speaking at public events. So I spoke at a healthcare conference in Chicago a few weeks ago, and that was purely by chance and a connection that I had. And they were looking for panel discussions on a subject that I speak on. And I said, I can easily speak on that subject. Here's my background. Here's my bio. Here's all of this. So it was an opportunity that created itself because I was out there and recognized. And those are big, big things. So the challenge is just making sure that you hone down and do just a few things. Because again, if it's like the to-do list, if there's 20 things you want to do, you can't do all 20. Pick 2 or 3 so you can really make them strong. And then the other stuff will fall into place.
You're going into a season that you're expanding and growing what you're doing. What's the next big goal you have for your business?
Next big goal for me is, because I still am with my day job. So the next big goal, and if my bosses are listening, hi, is to retire from that role within the next year. I actually think it will happen. And because of the way things are lining up and the joint ventures and the stuff that I've been working on over the last, actually even 2 months, things are really starting to gain traction on some things. And my advice to everybody is just keep at it. Because there are times when you're an entrepreneur, when you're going, I'm not getting anywhere. I'm not getting the clients. Where are they? I'm putting all this time and effort and I'm not seeing any results. Just keep at it, hone it, get it really fine-tuned, find out who your niche audience is, who you should be working with, and really drill down to that level. And when you do that, you'll find the people out there, because a good friend of mine has often said, there are people begging to find someone like you to do business with. They're looking for you. And the key is to be seen where they're looking. And once you do that, then hold on. Then you'll have bigger problems of going, okay, how am I going to scale this? How am I going to be able to expand this? I'm only one person. How am I going to expand this and be able to serve more people? And, those are some things you should think about sooner than later. I know a lot of people say, well, when I get to that stage, I'll start talking with coaches and all that. I've been in the opposite effect, where I've been talking with other people like myself and coaches that could teach my subject and or something that's in alignment with what I talk about. just so they're ready to go, and see if there's an interest. If there is, then we pursue it. And then once things come in and the client work starts to grow even more, then it's like, okay, I'm going to have Renata do this, or I'm going to have Carol do this. And all of a sudden you go from a solopreneur to this joint venture type of organization, or possibly even you start bringing these people on full time. And next thing you know, you're running a company. You're going, whoa. Well, and a lot of people, entrepreneurs, go, I wasn't ready for this. It's like, well, wait a minute. You want to go into business for yourself. Well, now you're in business and it's successful. Yeah, but I didn't think it was going to happen. It's like, well, okay, change that attitude. Always think it's going to happen. It's just going to take a matter of time. And, lining everything up is crucial.
In a moment, we'll be back with Michael Levitt, and we'll be diving into the world of burnout, health, how to reinvent your life, and so much more. Chasing big ideas and dreams can often be scary and hard to do. We've created 2 guides to help you in that journey of overcoming the obstacles. The first one is how to know when you found your dream. And the second guide is overcoming the unknown. All you have to do is swing on over to jumblethink.com/guide. That's jumblethink.com/guide. And you can download your free guides directly from Jumblethink. So swing on over to jumblethink.com/guide, download your guides, and start the journey of chasing your big ideas and dreams and changing the world around you. Now let's jump into segment 2 with Michael Levitt. We are back with Michael Levitt. We started off by talking a little bit about you and your business. And one of the things that you talked about in that first segment was how burnout is part of your core message. And you have a crazy story about losing health, losing your job, losing your car and your home, all in like under 400 days, and then having to reassess what's important to you and rebuild the life that you want to live. Tell us a little bit about that story.
Yeah, in 369 days, I had a heart attack, and then I lost my job, and our family car was repossessed, and our home was foreclosed.
Wow.
All in a year and a few days.
Wow.
Each of those losses to many people can be and typically are devastating. A heart attack, I was 40 years old when it happened.
Wow.
40-year-olds are not supposed to have heart attacks.
Right.
And my heart attack, the blockages were in the left anterior descending artery, which in cardiology world is referred to as the widowmaker.
Yeah.
Because typically when you have blockages and a heart attack in that particular part of your heart, you don't survive. So every day when I wake up, I realize how incredibly fortunate I am to be alive. And I don't take that for granted. This past week, I had my annual checkup with my cardiologist, and everything is looking great. My blood work, all of that stuff. I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to be doing. So my heart is healthy, and it's doing everything it's supposed to do. And again, I don't take that for granted. It's very important that I recognize that happened. The job loss, again, that's, a lot of people have experienced that in their life, and it's never any fun.
Right.
In the family car getting repossessed, that was, of all those experiences, that was the one that probably impacted me the hardest, because it was in the Windsor, Ontario area where the car was repossessed. I was actually up in Toronto working. I just found a new job, and I was up there for about a month, and the bank came and repossessed the vehicle.
Wow.
So I was 4 hours away and wasn't able to be there with my daughters and to sort through all of that kind of stuff. So that was of all those experiences, that was the one where I felt probably the most powerless, because there was really nothing I could do at that point. And I was unemployed for almost a year. So, it's a little hard to make car payments when you're choosing between food and car payments.
Right.
It's not easy to eat a good year. Okay. So you want food
chewy for sure.
Definitely chewy. And then, the final, straw was the home being foreclosed. We had already moved out, and we'd moved up to Toronto, and we were in the process of putting it on the market. Now, remind everybody, when this happened was in 2009, 2010. So that was at the tail end of the 2008 economic recession that we saw in the United States and Canada.
Right.
So jobs were really difficult to be found.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to find one, but I finally did. And all of those experiences, you have a choice. When you have something as catastrophic as that happen to you, you can go down two paths. One, you can play the victim and say, woe is me, and not do anything. Or I chose to, okay, I'm going to dust myself off, and I'm going to rebound, and I'm going to learn from what happened and make sure that whatever I did to lead up to these situations, I never do again.
Right.
So it was a lot of soul searching. It was a lot of time, and I had time, because when you're unemployed for a year, you've got time.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time looking for jobs and going on interviews. And in my book, I talk about, I felt like the Buffalo Bills when they were going to the Super Bowl all those years and not winning them.
Yeah.
I felt that way. I came in second place on interviews, so many of them.
Wow.
It was getting frustrating. But for me, it was an opportunity to, again, reinvent myself, because I didn't die. I found a new job.
Yeah.
We had another vehicle. We had a place to live.
Yeah.
So when you have all of those things and you look at that and you go, I lost those things, but I have these things.
Right. It's almost like evaluating perspective and being able to really assess the bigger picture sometimes in these moments of catastrophic moments. You've had this health issue, you've had the loss of your car and your home, and yet you could see the larger picture and really understand that there was more at play.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And I knew that even just surviving the heart attack, it was one of those things where I realized, okay, obviously I'm still supposed to be around.
Right.
I'm supposed to do something.
Yeah.
I had no clue what that was going to be. And what was funny is my job that I got up in Toronto was in the healthcare sector.
Yeah.
And my parents called me, because that was the sector that was in that, while I had the heart attack. And my parents called me and said, you need to see a shrink.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, why? It's like, you're going into the field that nearly killed you. I'm like, the field didn't kill me.
Yeah.
My choices and actions and how I went about my business and living my life and working and all that was what nearly killed me. I can't blame healthcare for killing me. In all of those situations, all those losses, I was the one responsible for all of them. I played a part in all of those things. I wasn't taking care of myself, had a heart attack, job loss situation. There were some things that were done that my employer felt was big enough where they didn't want me to stick around. Okay, then I lose the job. And when you don't pay your house payment for a while or your car payment, well, the bank is going to go, you know what, we're going to go ahead and just take these things from you because you're not paying us for it.
Yeah.
It's so I could easily blame the bank and be mad at them. No, I'm not upset with those banks at all. I still bank at them. I've got accounts with them. I'm not mad. They did what they had to do. I signed in a contract, and believe me, I would have loved to make the payments, but again, you have to choose between food and bills. Food tends to win.
Yeah, it does. And, I want to pivot to the larger picture of burnout and how others can learn from your story. We live in an age where we've got a new generation of entrepreneurs coming up. We've got millennials that are very entrepreneurial, and you always hear the same phrase, you got to hustle, you got to hustle, you got to hustle. But it seems like we're leading ourselves to a place of not being able to sustain that pace and that place where we can continue doing that for the long haul. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts around the whole world of, hustle versus a paced journey of entrepreneurship?
While I definitely appreciate the hustle mentality, I look at it as more of a disciplined hustle.
Okay.
to really focus on the things that you should be working on. If
Yeah.
you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to start your business and you're building your client base and you're building your products and services, then yes, you're going to be doing that after hours, because unless you've got a really healthy savings account, you're probably still in your day job to help cover things. And that don't quit your day job before you have sustainable income. Just don't do it. I hear so many people say, I'm going to quit, I'm going to launch a business. Like, well, it's going to take 3 or 4 years for it to or if it's going to take off, it could take years. Are you prepared not to eat for 3 or 4 years? Okay, good. Good luck. But being disciplined on what you should be working on, because I hear, the Gary V's and, the hustle.
Yeah.
But the challenge that I faced, and I was kind of that way, in the startup, I was just constantly going. And what happens is if you don't rest and you don't sleep well and you're not taking care of yourself because you feel I got to keep going, you're going to burn out. You're going to have health issues, or you're going to be so dejected about the experience that when the business actually takes off, you don't have any energy to serve your client base because you're just dead. You're burned out. So recommendations that I have for people are in the entrepreneurial world is really schedule your time, block time off to work on the things you want to work on, and also block time off to be off. Turn the phone off, put it in the other room, go outside. I know it sounds silly, but we don't do this. And I work with a lot of people that are from the millennial generation, and they are very entrepreneurial. They're very driven. They want to make a huge impact in this world. And I'm thrilled that they want to do that. And I expect them to do that. I expect great things over the next 20 to 30 years in a variety of different arenas that are going to be driven by this spirit. But the problem is I don't want them to burn out where they can't actually enjoy the work that they've done, because that's devastating. You want to be able to have that energy level to sustain it. So scheduling your time, scheduling time off, turn off all the notifications on your cell phone except the ones that are important, because we all see the red light on our phones and we go, oh, I have to check that. And I was the same way. I mean, I used, to date myself, I had, a RIM BlackBerry pager. So the light would be on that thing and you're like, oh, got a message. So it's push button, get cheese kind of thing. It's the same thing. You're like, okay, I got to get rid of that red light because it's annoying. Now I don't have any notifications on my phone other than if I get a text message. Obviously, if there's a phone call that comes in, I don't tend to use the phone thing very often, other than talking to my parents. I think that's the only people I ever talk to on the phone, and clients, of course, too. But as far as anything else, is like everything's all electronic now. But the Facebook and the Twitter and Instagram notifications, I've got all that stuff turned off. So in order for me, and mail as well, in order for me to go in and look to see if I have a message or need to interact with anybody, I physically have to launch the application to see. So I don't have my email notification, with 18,000 emails. There's no red little circle by the icon. It's just not there. Then that way you condition yourself to not have to be so reactionary on it, because entrepreneurs, and everybody, but especially entrepreneurs, we have to really manage our interruptions, and those little red lights on our cell phone are interruptions, and it takes you away from what you're supposed to be working on.
And I know that gets into a topic that you're passionate about, in that part of the process of overcoming burnout is to set up healthy boundaries. This is an example of one of those boundaries: untethering yourself from those notifications, setting boundaries where you turn off your devices. What are some other boundaries that you've found really helpful as a person starting a business, as a person growing a business, where you can actually feel like you have those boundaries that protect you, protect relationships, and set you up for success?
I use the analogy of, my dad. He worked for the auto sector, and he most of the time was in the assembly line.
Right.
So he would go in and he'd work his 8-hour shift, and he would do whatever he did at the assembly line, whether it was putting in engines in the car or, bolting indoors, or, he did a variety of things during his career.
Right.
When he got home, he wasn't allowed to continue installing engines or bolt indoors or do anything else, because that work was at work. So a big boundary for me is to literally have an end of day situation. It's like, okay, at this time of day, Monday to Friday, this is what the end of the day is. Block it off. Don't do it. Communicate that with your clients. Now, yes, there's going to be certain situations where your clients need to be, or you need to be accessible to your clients a little bit later. For example, I chat with people and work with people that are on the West Coast. I'm on the East Coast. So yeah, it's 3 hours later. So it's like, okay, let's have an 8 a.m. call. Well, it's 5 a.m. there. I'm not sure they're going to be awake to hear what I have to say. And I'm not even sure I can understand the questioning that they're going to be asking me unless they've already had some coffee. Yeah. So it doesn't make sense. You have to be flexible in it, but be very particular in how you spend your time. Build in breaks during the day. On my calendar, which I have, I use a MacBook, but a Windows PC would work just as well. But I use Google Calendar, and I have 3 different calendars. I've got a personal calendar, I've got my breakfast leadership calendar, and I also have the healthcare clinic calendar synced to it. And it's all color coded. So there are days that it looks like a Crayola box exploded on my screen. There's just colors everywhere. Yeah. But I do that so I know where I have things on there, and on my calendar, I've got lunch blocked off every day. Now, a lot of people are like, well, yeah, you're going to take lunch. No, I want it on there because one, I don't want my assistant to block something in there and go, oh, you got a time at 11:30 to meet with this person. And I'm leaving for lunch at 11:30, and I'm leaving the office. I'm not staying in the office. I go before everybody else does, and I get back, and then the last half hour of their lunches, I can be in the break room and talk with them for a couple minutes if they have any questions and whatnot. But, to be seen as an executive, that's another thing. You want to be seen. Don't hide in your office, executives. It's just a pro tip for everybody. Right. But it's be really, really diligent about how you schedule your time. And you'll find that if you feel that you're burning out and you're doing too much, oftentimes is you're doing things and they're not in rhythm with where your energy levels are. I tend to load up my mornings with tasks. Then, I do 2 or 3 tasks that I want to accomplish for the day, try to get them done. And then in the afternoon, I leave for meetings, phone calls, follow-ups, other things where I'm still working, but I'm not necessarily in creation mode. Right. And some people may be the complete opposite. Their creative juices might be flowing from 7 p.m. until 11 p.m. Great. That. Block that time off to work on that. You'll accomplish more if you're working in the zone that matches the work that you're trying to do.
Absolutely. Now, I want to make sure that we take a few moments to talk about your book, 369 Days, How to Survive. Tell us a little bit about the book, who you wrote it for, and what problems it might solve for them.
I wrote the book for people that, one, are either in a burnout state or approaching burnout state, and also for those that have gone through similar losses, maybe one of them, hopefully not all of them, but I know there are people that have had similar experiences in life. And the book, there's a lot of humor in it because that's the best way to go about it for me and my perspective is, looking at life, laughing at it and going, okay, that was fun. And, oh, sure. You do all this in a year. And I joke with people. It's like, yeah, because those are all pretty significant losses. I didn't want to waste any time. So I thought, let's just get them all done in a year. Right. And then the rest of my life can be, peaches and cream. Everything's awesome. And for the most part, it has been. I mean, there's been hiccups and hurdles, but you know what? That's called life. That's what shapes you. Yeah. And I wouldn't change anything either. The experiences that I had while yes, I wish I didn't have a heart attack, and I wish I didn't have to take certain types of medication to make sure that I stay alive, but those experiences have shaped me to live a better life now and not be stressed as much, not burn out, have strong boundaries in my life to really focus on the things that are important. I know some people will accuse me of being a minimalist.
Okay.
And for a long time, I was kind of leaning towards that. But Greg McKeown wrote a book called Essentialism. It's a really good book.
Yeah.
And I find myself being more of an essentialist than a minimalist, where I have things in my life that are essential for me to be able to do things that I need to do.
Okay.
And those, because going through life saying, well, I only want to have 2 plates, 2 forks, 2 knives, 2 spoons, that's a little chaotic, because you're constantly washing dishes at that point, and that's never any fun.
Right.
Even with the dishwasher, like, oh, both my spoons are in the dishwasher. What am I going to do? No, you don't. Come on. But just again, when you lose everything and you go through that experience, for me anyway, it really put into perspective, okay, what are the things that I truly need that'll serve me and what don't I need?
Right.
All the trinkets, all the collectibles. I used to collect comic books and baseball cards, and all that stuff. And now I don't. I do appreciate those things. I see them from time to time and have fond memories of collecting and having those things. But now I don't, and I don't feel like, oh, I'm going without. I have everything in my life that I want and need. There really isn't anything that, from a materialistic standpoint, that I need. I have everything that I want, and I don't have a ton of things because one of the things I comment about in my book is if I had to choose between moving again or having another heart attack, I would probably choose the heart attack.
Right.
I despise moving.
Wow.
And I've hired movers. I can't, it's torture. I don't shake anymore when I see a U-Haul truck, but I at least I go, yeah, it's like, don't worry. They're not coming close to you. It's not your truck. You're good. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. But no, moving is torturous.
Okay. So as we wrap up this segment, I want to make sure people know that you help people with overcoming these obstacles of burnout and boundaries. You have a free checklist, and you also provide some coaching services. Tell us about both of those.
Yep. If you go to breakfastleadership.com, there's right on the front page, there's an area where you can get my free Successful Mornings checklist. I'm a firm believer in, if you start off every day with consistency and doing the right things, it sets the tone for your entire day. And it actually makes your days go by a lot easier because you've done these things to properly take care of yourself and prepare yourself to be successful, rested, eating right, getting some activity in. I'm not expecting anybody to go into, an MMA type of training, but if you want to do that, go for it. It's, UFC could always use more fighters, so it's always, if you want to go that route, go for it. But the checklist is designed just to give people, like, here's some quick ideas. And if you make these simple tweaks, you will notice a difference in your life. And for coaching, again, because I've been on the side of complete burnout and loss of everything, I know how people feel when they're going through the experiences of frustrations at work, at home, trying to balance everything, try to figure out how to do it all. Well, a little hint, you can't do it all. So,
right.
So you need to figure out a way to get done what only you can get done, and learn how to delegate. Even if you're a solopreneur, you can still delegate some things. There's online sources. You can hire people to do some things at a very affordable rate, and it'll save you a ton of time, and it's going to look a lot better because that's what they do. That's their strength. Yeah. I think a lot of us entrepreneurs think that we are superheroes and we can do everything. And I learned that lesson pretty quick, especially being a reformed accountant, as my brother calls me, and trying to do marketing and sales.
Right.
The accounting department didn't look fondly upon that department because we just accuse them of just partying and, spending all of our money. But
Right.
I have a new appreciation for sales and marketing people. And I will say this right now. I am sorry for all the things that I felt and said to your profession over the last 30 years. So, so I work with people and really help them find their true north and find where they want to be. Because an exercise I always have them do is, okay, what's your ideal day? What do you want your day to look like? Okay, now what does your day look like now? Okay, let's connect the dots, figure out what we need to do to get you to where you want to be.
Absolutely.
Because, you see all the studies where, I've seen anywhere from 60 to 80% of people hate their jobs.
Yeah.
And I know that while the world needs entrepreneurs, not everyone really has the entrepreneurial spirit within them. They are geared and would be better and happier if they were working for an organization doing things that they like to do, which is great. That's fine. I have no problem with that. And the world needs every kind of skill out there. So getting to let's see if we can make this situation better for you without uprooting and changing your job and doing all of these things, because oftentimes you can. I mean, there may be some situations, and I've encountered them, where it's like, this may not be the right place for you, but let's do whatever we can to ease it up a little bit, and then you can make a longer term decision on it. Don't go into your boss's office on day one and say, yeah, I'm going to change the way I do business. Yeah, well, the unemployment line is over there. Don't be confrontational with your boss. It doesn't end well typically.
Before we wrap up this segment, I want to make sure that people know how they can find you. So where are the best places for people to find you?
Definitely on breakfastleadership.com. I'm also on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook under the Be Fast Leadership. Don't get that on a license plate. Just another pro tip. Putting the word fast on your license plate is not a good idea. Or driving a red car, apparently. Right. So I avoid that. But those are the best places to find me. And there's a contact me section right on my website. And then again, interact with me on those social media channels. I love to connect with people and just give them any tips or advice that would help them lead the life that they want to live.
We'll be right back with Michael Levitt and our rapid fire questions. I hope that you're enjoying today's episode of the Jumblethink Podcast. If you're new to the Jumblethink Podcast and you're loving this episode, here are a couple more episodes you may want to check out. In Season 2, Episode 30, our guests were Kimmy and Pua, the founders of Best Life Ever. We talk about how you can be the best you and how you can create the life you want to live. It's a super fun episode, and I think you'd really enjoy it. Another episode you may want to check out is Season 1, Episode 86. Our guest is Dave Carnell, our good friend Dave, and he talks about turning fear into courage. It's a super powerful episode that will help you move past the obstacles and into the life you should be living. And finally, in Season 2, Episode 17, I share some tips and strategies on how you can face the unknown, how you can take that challenge of fear and the unknown and how it holds you back and really step into the destiny you were created to live. Those are just 3 possible episodes you may like if you're loving this episode, but we have over 150 episodes, so make sure to check out some more of the Jumblethink Podcast and really take the step to chase your big idea and dream. Now let's jump into our rapid fire questions with today's guest, Michael Levitt. We are back with Michael Levitt in our rapid fire questions. Michael, are you ready for some rapid fire questions?
Let's do this.
All right. The first question is, what is one tip you'd give someone with a big idea or dream and they don't know where to start?
Best thing is just outline it all out on a piece of paper and then look for some ideas that you can batch together.
The next question is, what is one change you'd like to see in the world?
people spending more time doing the things that they want to do when they want to do them, where they want to do them.
Love that for sure. What do you want your legacy to be?
Someone that overcame some significant challenges and made a pretty incredible dent in the universe.
Where do you find inspiration?
Other leaders, as well as people that are struggling, but they are getting through those struggles and making a better life for themselves, no matter what circumstances they face.
Now, you mentioned a book earlier, but I'm going to throw this back in here again. What is one book you think every dreamer or entrepreneur should read, and why?
The best leadership book I've ever read is The Tortoise and the Hare.
Oh, okay.
Many entrepreneurs are acting like the rabbit. Who wins the race? The turtle.
Yeah.
Go be methodical in what you do. Find a right coach that'll tell you the right steps to take. There are no shortcuts, but there are quicker ways to get to your destination when you take the right steps.
Love that. There are no shortcuts. I think that's a powerful statement because we're all looking for shortcuts.
Mm-hmm.
What is one tool that's significant for the success of your business?
Google Calendar.
Ah, yes. And what's one habit that you find helpful in your life as an entrepreneur?
Learning from others, listening to podcasts, I think is a great idea. Invest in time. I'm not saying don't watch Netflix, but carve out some of your day to listen to the podcasts so you can improve yourself.
That's good. That's good. How do you start and finish your day?
Start the day with waking up, exercising, eating a decent breakfast. And end of day, winding down, reflecting on how the day went, make some notes on what I need to do the first thing in the morning, or actually after, I do my exercises and all of that. But those are some big things that I do every day.
If you weren't doing what you're doing today, what do you think you'd be doing?
Probably writing more books.
Okay. Do you think you'll write some more books yet?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I'm actually working with somebody on writing a book on I'm not going to release what it is yet, but it's something to do with the corporations in America, and it's along the lines of boundaries and harassment and burnout.
That's very cool. And our final rapid fire question is, what is one dream you're still wanting to fulfill in your own life?
The one dream would be to spend the winter months in a community that is warmer than 23 degrees Fahrenheit.
Right.
Because I'm in Toronto and we have winter here.
Yeah.
And I would much rather be in SoCal or someplace warm for a few months of the year. And that's going to happen. But it's just a matter of when.
As we wrap up today's episode, I want to leave you with a moment to share with us a final thought.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's important for all of us to really design our life the way that we want to live it. It's our life. We often feel that we are held accountable to our employers and our work, and because of money and bills and the obligations that we have, whether it's mortgages, car payments, and all of the above. Having been in that situation, then losing everything and then rebounding and reinventing my life, I was very careful on what I did, the decisions I made, the type of work that I do, debt load, all of these things. And these were all decisions that we don't make overnight. It's over time. So be really, really aware of the decisions you make, live below your means, and really protect your time and establish those personal boundaries in your life. They will save your life.
So good. It's amazing advice. And I want to encourage you, if you're listening, make sure you check out those resources that Michael was sharing, and also drop him a note. Let him know what you thought of the episode and how it impacted your life. Michael, thank you so much for taking time out, sharing your story, a very powerful story, and giving us some insights that you've learned that we could apply to our own lives.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you to the audience for listening to today's episode.
Once again, we want to thank today's guest, Michael Levitt, for taking time out, sharing his story, and giving us amazing insights into the world of burnout and how you can create a disciplined hustle. As always, you can find links to Michael and how you can connect with him in today's episode notes. If you are on the journey of chasing big ideas and dreams, the team at Jumblethink is here to help. We've worked with hundreds of businesses and entrepreneurs to turn those dreams, turn those ideas into reality. I would love to start the journey of helping you chase those big ideas and dreams. What you need to do is swing on over to jumblethink.com/help me. You can learn more about our consulting services, and let's start the conversation to see how we can turn your dreams into reality. As we wrap up today's episode, I want to encourage you that if you do have that big idea and dream, whether you reach out to us or not, you should chase it. So I want to challenge you. Think about what you could do, whether it's big or small today, to make a step forward and start making that dream, making that idea into reality. Now go out there and do it and begin to change the world around you. Thanks again for tuning in. Now get out there, chase big dreams, and change the world around you.
Les mères de famille, les enfants peuvent également prendre un moment revitalisant. Dans quelques mois, lorsque vous aurez bien saisi la technique et que vous serez maître de votre corps, vous pourrez vous décontracter même en travaillant.